Resolution rescinding the addition of fluoride at the City of Mount Clemens water filtration plant. I need a motion, please.
Motion to approve a resolution rescinding the addition of fluoride at the City of Mount Clemens water filtration plant.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Campbell?
Yes.
Drager?
Yes.
Gager?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Johns?
Yes.
Flesh?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
That's what one man did by simply presenting the scientific facts to his council. State Representative Dr. Joe Hensley of Tennessee sent letters to every district in his state urging them to stop adding fluoride to the drinking water and has had very successful results. In future reports, we will document the fact that under the name fluoride, upwards of 300 plus chemicals are legally added to your water supply. Americans are forced to drink a literal toxic waste stew that is left over from different industries who would have to pay to store the toxic waste. Instead, our cities, in some cases, pay millions of dollars a year for the poison. The good news is people all over the world, not just the United States, are waking up. Right here in Austin, we're seeing more and more restaurants advertising that they have fluoride-free, healthy, clean, filtered water. Our reporter, Darren McBreen, traveled to one of these restaurants to talk to the owner. Darren McBreen.
Thanks, Alex. We're standing outside of Hop Dotty's, a local hamburger restaurant located in South Austin. Now, this is just one of the many restaurants in town choosing organic and locally produced ingredients over GMO and conventionally farmed foods. However, Hop Dotty's has taken this trend one step further. They're also removing the fluoride as well as other toxins from the drinking water that they serve their customers.
You'd be surprised that it's a small percentage that really appreciate it, but the ones that do understand what fluoride does to you, they are ecstatic. They love seeing that.
Sodium fluoride is a chemical byproduct of aluminum, phosphate, cement, steel, and nuclear weapons manufacturing. It reduces IQ, impairs memory and learning. It has shown to poison kidney function. It causes bone disease as well as reduced thyroid activity and is a proven cause of cancer.
Well, not only is it bad for humans, it's also bad for animals of all kinds as well.
I just don't understand why fluoride needs to be in the water to begin with.
I do not think it belongs in our water supply.
I said it's for promoting like tooth health, oral hygiene and stuff like that. It's supposed to be good for your teeth.
Anything in the water supply doesn't sound like something that I'd be for. So if I know something's being put into a water supply that doesn't necessarily have to be there, I'd rather it not be there. Back in elementary school, they made you like gargle that stuff and like wash your mouth out with it. But I just remember it made me sick every time I had it. So it's like, I don't know if it needs to be in my water.
I think it's just awful. I don't think anything should be added to the water supply that doesn't need to be added.
And it just sounds scary. Anything that's being put into a city's water supply without everybody's consent.
So would you like to see all the restaurants turn the corner like you are and remove the fluoride from the drinking water that they serve their customers?
Well, I like to see the city turn the corner and remove all the fluoride and not burden everyone with putting RO systems in their restaurants. I think that'd be the best way to do it. But I think that we can get the word out by doing that, and I would love to see more restaurants do that.
Well, you know, a lot of advocates are starting to educate people, and more people are becoming aware of the dangers of sodium fluoride. In fact, right down the street, Hop Dotty's they've made a conscious decision to remove the sodium fluoride from the drinking water that they serve their customers. What do you think about that?
I think it's great. I actually go over there quite a bit.
I appreciate it, yeah. I don't want, if they can filter out anything, the more filtration of the water, the better.
I think it's great that they're standing by something they believe in.
I'd like it if a lot more businesses started to do that.
They actually spent the money to take it out of their own water supply. I think that's pretty cool. They don't need to spend money to take it out. It just needs to not be there to begin with.
I'd like it personally if Austin stopped putting the fluoride in the water altogether.
The majority of people we talk to on the street flat out don't approve of sodium fluoride being added to their water, which is why we applaud individual activists and activist groups like the Fluoride Action Network, who stand in the way of fluoridating public water supplies. And thanks to restaurants like Hop Dotty's playing a role in the health of their customers and their community. I'm Darren McBreen for InfoWars Nightly News.
So as you can see, although not everyone's informed about fluoride, those who are don't want it added to the water. And as we've otherwise demonstrated, it's not good science. It's not good health. And it's important we recognize that because the bioethicists of the world and the elites are trying to add more chemicals to our drinking water, such as the proposals for lithium just to treat a few people with depression. Then there's the prescription medicine that's in the water anyway. Now, we want to show you a clip from May 2011. We showed you some other clips from Dr. Paul Conant, pretty much the leading anti-fluoride activist out there, yesterday. And here in this clip, in a roundtable with Alex, they talk about some of the successes and how really the tide is beginning to turn, especially as the public becomes more aware. But at the same time, these mid-level bureaucrats have no interest in helping out the public they supposedly serve.
Dr. Conant, thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you, Alex. You know, water fluoridation is not the most important issue confronting our planet, but it's the easiest one to end. All you need is a strong wrist to turn off the tap. Once the tap is turned off, it's over. But you need the political will to turn the tap off, and to get that political will, we need people informed and we need people organized. Thanks to you, millions of people around the world are being informed on this issue, and thanks to fluoride-free Texas, thousands of people in the city of Austin are being informed about the issue and being organized on the issue. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that Austin, Texas will be our next big victory. A few days ago, it was finalized that Calgary in Alberta, that's 1.1 million people, are now going to be fluoride-free, and after 20 years. And people in Waterloo, Ontario, voted it out. So the squeeze is on Ontario. And don't forget that most of British Columbia and most of Quebec, the wings of Canada, are already fluoridation-free. And we're squeezing on Alberta with Calgary out, Edmonton may be next, and then we're squeezing on Ontario. If Ontario was to go, if Toronto was to go, or even Ottawa was to go, I think it would be the end of fluoridation in Canada. Meanwhile, we've got a very good organizing group in New Zealand. FAN New Zealand is excellent, and FAN Australia has just been formed. So there's a fight back everywhere. And then a few days ago I was in Dublin, which is mandatory fluoridation. Because of American pressure back in the 1960s, Ireland has mandatory fluoridation. It's the odd man out in Europe. Only 3 countries in Europe have any fluoridation at all. England at 10%, Spain at 3%, and Ireland at 73%. But lots of people in Ireland don't want this fluoride in their water. But many other people don't know it's there.
Now, you've been talking about some of the big cities that are going fluoride-free. I've seen reports like towns outside Austin, like Lago Vista, having it removed. Other cities not putting it in. Big fights in places like San Diego, where they've had to bring in supposed private money to do it.
I've tried to work out for 15 years. You notice in our book, it's the last chapter, trying to understand motivations. Now, for the rank-and-file dentists and doctors, it's very simple. They're too busy treating patients to read the literature. Most of them don't. You've got a wonderful guy in Austin, Griffin Cole. He's a dentist. He has read the literature, and he's very much opposed to it. Very important man, Griffin Cole. But most dentists and doctors don't have time to read the literature. We do, of course, 3 professors here, retired professors at that. Then you've got the people in the middle of the bureaucracy. Basically, they are trained not to question policy. Policies determined in Washington or in the state.
It's like the military. They follow orders.
They follow orders, literally. And the CDC, remember, is in uniform. It's a uniform branch of the Department of Health and Human Services, CDC. They're in uniform. Surgeon General. Yes, you say, it's a chain of command. So don't expect the middle bureaucrats. Don't expect the health officers in the cities to...
And then the big chemical companies, they lobby the politicians that give the orders to the bureaucrats, who give the orders to the unquestioning minions that then put it in our water. And meanwhile, it's a pesticide. I mean, they had a guy in California a few months ago who went into a house that was being gassed to kill bed bugs. Yeah. He walked in, a homeless guy, for like a minute, and it killed him. And it killed him, and it said...
That's the same stuff. That's sulfurofluoride. Yeah. Being used, Vicane, being used for years to fumigate buildings.
So this is simple. He walked in seconds was dead.
That's right.
And this is what they're pumping the food with. And you were talking about the numbers of what gets in white flour and things.
Yeah, the level in the flour that was being permitted by the EPA was 125 parts per million. And that flour, wheat flour, goes into dough, pizza dough, bread, cookies, cakes, and so on.
And there's no doubt that's to kill bugs. So you're eating something that's meant to kill bugs. Now, I'm no rocket scientist, but I mean, that's insane.
But the top of the chain of command, I went to the bottom, in the middle, What about the top? What's the motivation of these people in the Center of Disease Control, etc., Department of Health, Kathleen Sebelius? Why do they keep this going? For me, it's the fear of losing credibility. They have waxed lyrical so much for so long about this practice. I think they fear that if they lose fluoridation, they lose credibility. If they lose credibility, they lose the public's trust, which threatens other public health policies.
Well, this is the same government that secretly injected black people with syphilis.
Yeah.
And now it's come out they were doing it in Latin America and the atomic soldiers. I mean, these people have no credibility. And I agree with you, Doctor, at that level, at the top policy wonks, but they're taking orders from people like John P. Holdren and people he admired before him who all wrote about putting things like this in the water to reduce fertility. And we know it reduces fertility. And we know that they see us as animals, as a scourge upon the earth. And that's what my film Endgame Blueprint for Global Enslavement covers, is their own statements. This is being done by design. I know you only stick with what, the actual chemicals.
And I would make a distinction between the dentists and doctors out there who are usually very decent people.
They're compartmentalized.
Yeah, they do not. I don't think they have any notion other than what they've been told, that fluoridation is good for teeth and that it's perfectly safe. We have them on the ropes with the science. You know, the best study they've ever done on tooth decay in the United States, they looked at 39,000 children in 84 communities. And what did they conclude? That if a child had lived all its life in a fluoridated community compared with a child that lived all its life in a non-fluoridated community, there was a average saving for 5 to 17-year-olds of 0.6 of one tooth surface out of over 100 tooth surfaces in a child's mouth. And you have to say to yourself, is this world crazy? Are we doing all this to save 0.6 of a tooth surface? Are we going to threaten their brains, lower IQ, bone damage in adults, arthritis, lower thyroid function, all these possibilities to save 0.6 of one tooth surface? It doesn't make sense, does it?
So again, as you just saw in that Dr. Paul Connick clip, there are a lot of victories. The tide is beginning to turn. And of course, one of the cities he's been working with the most is right here in Austin. And we're joined now by two members of the Fluoride-Free Austin. Laura Presley, she's a PhD in physical chemistry, and Dr. Griffin Cole, he's a dentist here in town. And they're going to tell us about some of the action that's been taking place right here in Austin. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Aaron, thanks. There's been a major change that's happened very recently. The supplier of the hydrofluorosilicic acid that Austin uses as their fluoride source and their fluoride chemical in the tap water, the supplier of the chemical changed their material safety data sheet as recently as May, the end of May. And I have looked at a lot of material safety data sheets in my career as a chemist, probably scores and scores of them. And I can say, honestly, I have never seen this type of health warning in a material safety data sheet. Do you want to like to read through that? Or?
Yeah, let's go over that. And that's important, of course, because this is the company that admittedly uses aluminum byproducts and industrial waste, really, that they put in so much of the water throughout the country. Now, we have a quote from that material data sheet here. It says, prolonged or repeated overexposure to fluoride compounds may cause fluorosis. Fluorosis is characterized by skeletal changes consisting of osteosclerosis, hardening or abnormal density of the bone, as well as osteomalacia, softening of the bones, and by mottled discoloration of the enamel of teeth if exposure occurs during enamel formation. Symptoms may include bone and joint pain and limited range of motion. And of course, fluoride is known to be a contributor to bone cancer, thyroid disorder, brain inflammation, and even reduce sterility and fertility, kind of a common meme when we talk about these modern day chemicals and some of the agendas behind it. But again, the material data sheet's important because it's as good as an official admission right from the company that supplies the fluoride. And so tell us more about what this means.
So what's interesting about what you just read, and I'm going to repeat just one phrase, if exposure occurs during enamel formation. What that signifies, and when Fluoride-Free Austin, when we first saw this, we were incredibly alarmed and actually glad that they admitted this. Most material safety data sheets are intended for the workers, the chemical workers at the plant, the chemical handlers who are handling these chemicals and putting them into the water supply. This warning specifically targets infants whose teeth are erupting and